All right, welcome to the program, The Desk on Global Television. My name is Anthony Momodu. It's time for us to look at our salient issues, current affairs issues on the global scene and also on the national scale on Africa's biggest black nation, Nigeria. Let's look at the very big story coming from the global scene that has to do with the war in Ukraine, where the United States President Joe Biden has said that the United States will begin to send fresh weapons and equipment to Ukraine this week. The U.S. Senate approved $95 billion and also 76 billion pounds foreign aid package that includes military support for Israel and Taiwan as well as Ukraine. Biden vowed to sign it off as soon as it reaches his desk on Wednesday so that it can be sent this week. So what it means that Ukraine has recently stepped up its calls for Western assistance as Russia makes steady gains in the invasion, which included a package of $61 billion. All right, that's how we make you welcome to the program, and that's going to be our first talking point. My guest on today's edition, we've got a political affairs analyst in the person of Toba Owojai live in the studio. Always a pleasure having you in the studio. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tony. How are you doing?
Doing great. Also, we have another guest of ours joining us via Zoom, another person but Olugbenga George, who is a diplomatic aide and also a journalist joining us via Zoom. Olugbenga George, thank you for joining us on the desk. All right, Olugbenga George yet to join us, or we hope he's going to be joining us very soon. Let's begin our discourse from the U.S., where the U.S. has said they are going to be sending fresh weapons and equipment to Ukraine this week, and $97 billion. That's quite a huge amount of money, and 96 billion pounds also being sent to Ukraine, Taiwan. Do you think the U.S. is actually living up to its expectation, and the war against that's a war between Russia and Ukraine? It's not going to end anytime soon.
War is becoming very expensive. So far, I think they've spent over, this is 75 billion. They've spent 200 before. We'll be heading to almost 500 billion.
This $95 billion now.
Yes, and they've sent many other trenches of money. So this amount of money would have been put into far better use. I am really not for spending this amount of money on war, when we are not spending this amount of money on development, on aids, on human capital development. It's becoming worrisome. It's looking like this is even a laundry scheme. That's what it's looking like for you to spend these monies, and the wars keep dragging on and on. Ukraine is not any better. Russia is not any better. Usually in wars, countries lose money because countries spend for it. And that's what also makes them easily decide to stop. But with all of these funds coming from different places, everybody is living large on the crisis, and this is horrible.
Right, but for Ukraine, would this give them that confidence to continue this battle against Russia? And Russia, on the flip side, we know that Russia suffered some bit of loss a month ago where there was some attack. Do you think this is going to also at a point try to wear Russia out, knowing fully well that Ukraine still has the backing of the Western allies, and probably at a point the people of Russia might begin to start turning their backs against Putin, and that could spell doom for Putin once the people revolt against him? Or you think he still has that very strong hold on the people?
Yeah, an election took place less than 3 weeks ago.
Yes.
And Putin won with about 92% of the votes, if I'm right. I don't see the people not backing him. You see, he wants to build USSR. He wants to build Soviet Union. He wants the world to have a big Russian country that becomes a world power. He needs land, he needs resources, he needs people. So he's playing into the mindset of an average Russian. That gives him backing from that side. But this is my issue. No general likes to fight a war on two fronts. So you see You see where they are fighting the war and it's dragging on. Russia was once provoked by Poland in all of this, and Russia made no statement because no general fights a war on two fronts. So this is the best time to have taken on Russia and Putin, because I'm pushing other battles, pushing other countries to try to slant him at this moment. He won't be able to fight on multiple fronts. So this is what I expect of them. But also funding the Israel fight at the same time. How much can America fund at once without caving in? So it may also bite Biden in this coming election. That how much have you spent on America? That you are spending American money on other people. So this may come back at the end of the day to bite Biden. I don't see Biden coming back.
All right. On the final note, in terms of Russia, yes, would you say, because the report did tell us that Russia was steadily gaining ground, do you see Russia succeeding at the end of the day? In terms of the invasion, do you think he's going to succeed in invading Ukraine completely?
Not immediately, but he would succeed ultimately. They've been able to annex Crimea some years ago. They will not be able to annex the whole of Ukraine. They won't be able to do that immediately, but they may be able to take off maybe 20% or 30% of land in Ukraine and then crystallize on that and then make another bid in another 3-5 years. But I've told you it's a general plan for USSR.
But do you think that USSR is feasible? Because yes, we had USSR at a point, but also after certain generations, it broke out because different countries wanted to have their own sovereignty. They wanted to rule differently. Do you think Putin has that influence to make other Slovenia, Czech Republic, and others want to come back as USSR? Because they seem to be more advantage for them being apart than being a USSR, United Soviet Union.
Yeah, there's argument for and against that the other countries are doing better. We're seeing where large countries are doing better.
Because
China is doing well. India is doing well. The larger a country is, the larger it has a united front. So it has its own benefits. The issues now are the political players in those areas. Why will I want to drop my position as a president and then annex to you? As much as it has economic benefits, why should I do this? So those are the issues there. I don't see it working in a long time, but Putin saw that he had resources, he had the support, he had the people, and he says, why not push for this great Russia that we had once? And you see, that's why he's not losing in the elections within his place. As much as things are bad, the Russians are still seeing it.
But can the US play the card of, instead of
this is why USA is
why don't you join the NATO?
This is why USA is doing its best to fund Ukraine to be sure that it doesn't happen. Because if you have a bigger Russia, you're going to be in more trouble.
All right. Hopefully, we've got Olugben George that will be joining us very soon. But let's move on to the next talking point on today's discourse. We have lots of issues to chew upon. But let's begin from the Consumer Protection Council Act, the revival of the agency and the challenges. We know that the Consumer Protection Council is an agency of government and they have certain rules. Will you say you're satisfied with the rules they've been playing recently with the shutdown of the Chinese supermarkets that discriminated against Nigerians, saying Nigerians are not allowed? And also we got a story from Lagos, Ilepeju, where a school, Indian school, said they only would allow Indians coming and Indian students being accepted in the school. How big is the task for the FCCPC, and do you think they are living up to billings?
This is part of the things we expected from Tinubu, to strengthen institutions. So we've seen an institution that has been virtually nameless or unheard of for over 10 years, beginning to have...
Are you saying Babatunde Irukula, who was the person who the president sacked in a controversial circumstance before this new, chairman came into power, wasn't getting the job done.
Yes, there was. If you Google search, you will not see so much that mentions that agency. So we're seeing strengthening of institutions. We're seeing institutions start rising up to do their job. For heaven's sake, how are you in Nigeria?
You don't think it's more of like him wanting to just make it, like they say, make a lot of noise so that the president says, okay, yes, he's getting the job done because he's just coming into the space.
But you see, that these are two very key things you have mentioned here. For a Chinese supermarket to be exclusive to only Chinese people in Nigeria, that's a no. What if they're selling guns there? What if that place is an espionage?
Because currently the owner, Cindy Liu, according to report, has fled with her family.
Of course, you have to flee. You could have been into espionage. You could have been selling drugs. You could have been selling weapons there. As far as Nigerians are not allowed there on Nigerian soil, it's a no. The same thing you are telling us here, an Indian school allowing only Indians to be part of the school, then take your school to India, for heaven's sake. These are the things we are saying. What do you know is going on there? What if they are programming the youths there against us? So these are things you should not allow on your soil. We must strengthen these organizations, that no matter who is in charge or who is not in charge, they shouldn't be able to bow or cower to these things and raise them up and shut them down.
All right, my producer says Olugbenga George has just joined us via Zoom. Olugbenga George, thank you for joining us on the desk.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
All right, let's begin. Let's just take you back to the first talking point we had this evening as regards the U.S. saying Joe Biden announcing that the U.S. Senate has approved $96 billion of aid that will be sent to Ukraine this week in terms of weapons and equipment. How do you see the continuous support of the U.S. For Ukraine in this fight against Russia?
Well, I think, thank you very much for having me once again. I think it's a very interesting thing, and like I always say, it's always a lesson for us to learn from, that the United States does not leave its partners stranded at any point in time. You will agree with me that the $95 billion that was approved isn't just for Ukraine, by the way. It's for Ukraine and Israel and I think one other state to support them in. They are having, military warlike situations like this. And you would remember that the aid to Ukraine was actually called for earlier than now, and the House refused to pass that bill because the United States, they refused to pass that because they felt if he would go to Ukraine, then he should go to other places like Israel. Israel is one of the second beneficiaries of that aid. So for me, it speaks to, first of all, the fact that the United States will not leave its aid behind, will not leave those who are its allies behind. They will always come right on time for the kind of support they need. But when it comes to strengthening the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine, or between Israel and Gaza, and all of this, I think it is like I listened, to what Mr. Wojaye was saying just before, I got in the conversation, and he was talking about the fact that having that aid and Russia, why Russia wants to expand its coast and its territory, and I think that's what led to where the war on Ukraine is at the moment. So I still see it as a diplomatic debacle that still requires careful thought, in order to be able to interfere into. Yes, because Russia also has its right to want to expand its territory, especially noting that people within that space are brothers. That has always been my position from the beginning. And instead of escalating and looking for and helping them go to war, I think we should rather be talking about peace.
All right, let's quickly, let me just stay with you for a quick response to the issue of the Consumer Protection Council, an agency of government addressing consumer complaints and providing consumer education. We're aware that recently they've been going to formal and informal markets trying to see how they can drive down the ever-increasing prices of goods and services, and also recently have shut down supermarkets owned by Chinese that have barred Nigerians from patronizing them, and also a school in Ilupeju, Lagos also that has been found wanted, not as allowing Nigerians come in to do business with them. How would you mark the revival of that agency, and also not forgetting the fact that the president controversially sacked Babatunde Irukoya, who was the former chairman of that commission?
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting to know that the Nigerian people have an agency of government that will speak for them, that will stand up for their rights, especially where the control of price and control of the price of commodities is concerned. The agency has been somewhat moribund under the leadership of Babatunde Irukoya, like you mentioned, that Nigerians hardly ever.
Would you say it was truly moribund?
Well,
fair to say that?
As far as we know, people didn't even know that such organization existed in the real sense of it, to the point of now standing up to defend the price of commodities. You saw how the price of commodities continue to rise. From 2021, the price of food, consumables, continue to rise, and it was unstoppable. I'm sure you know that. So, and it keeps going on and on and on. And somebody once said that it is only in Nigeria that you have things that the law of gravity does not work, that whatever goes up never comes down. So, and it's not right, because sometimes these conditions are not exactly the way it is, but you realize that service providers and people who sell products take advantage of slight situations of a slight shift in economic realities to bring or impose untold hardship on the people who are their supposed customers. So to have a regulatory body like the FCCPC, I think is a very welcome development, and looking at the direction at which the agency is going now, especially when it comes to speaking to this skyrocketing prices of commodities, and their decision or their determination to make sure that people who sell products sell according to the realities of the market, not just the psychological inflation that many of them engage, hoarding products so they can sell at higher prices and all of that, that they engage in, and that continues to bring untold hardship on the people. It is saying that the government has woken up to its responsibility, and we hope that this FCCPC is able to sustain the momentum upon which it has started to carry out its responsibilities to the Nigerian people.
All right, let's get into the next discourse. We look at JAMB says 1.94 million Nigerians will be sitting for this JAMB examinations going on. Are you impressed with the number of candidates? And also the issue, JAMB did tell us the number of those that were found wanting in terms of exam malpractices, and also A-levels results having large number being having fake results. Are you concerned with the issues of examination malpractice and also A-level results being largely fake results being obtained by candidates?
It's sad that we're still playing with education. I'm happy that the number of people sitting for JAMB has increased, but let's also know that the number of Nigerians of that age have also increased. So it's nothing too fantastic. But if JAMB is able to clamp down on malpractice, you see, we went to school. Once a student is good and he passes in his JAMB, it's a plus. When he gets to university, he understands what he's taught. But when a student is really bad and he finds his way to cheat the system and gets into school, he gets to struggle. And if he doesn't struggle, he gets to cheat again. He has to find a bigger way to cheat to make it. And when he finishes from university, he now gets a job in a firm and has to still find a way to cheat. So let's track it back to JAMB. Let's track it back to the beginning point. Let JAMB get this right. I'm looking for a situation where SSC is also done on CBT centers where you can hardly cheat, where there are cameras, where the time frame is not enough for you to have all of that, where students are properly checked. Cheating is only a short-term solution. It will continuously lead us to this corrupt Nigeria. Because once somebody is not competent, he will find another means to make ends meet. So these are the issues we have. I think they've done well. What they should go for that, every center, if somebody has fake A-level results, where did he get that result? If it's from his school, which officer gave him that result? If it's from a cafe, which cafe gave him that result? We must follow a punishment to the last man, to the last mile, so that everybody involved in illegality gets a measure of punishment. This is the way we can go forward.
All right, Olukbenga George, your take on the JAMB 1.94 Nigerians sitting for the examination. Are you impressed with the CBT centers, the fact that we're always having issues in some centers allegedly supporting or aiding these candidates to cheat?
We can't hear you.
Hello, Benga, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, so your response to CBT centers aiding students to cheat, and do you think there are other ways we can get a more permanent CBT centers rather than always getting centers on temporary basis?
Yes, I actually think that the figures, that's what you spoke about earlier, and I think the figures is something that is quite encouraging, even though the larger percentage of the Nigerian youth population that falls between the ages of 18 to 25, cover the larger percentage of the Nigerian population, which means that we will only continue to have larger numbers of people who enroll for JAMB because they fall within that age bracket in Nigeria. So, speaking to that, we must prepare ourselves as a country and strengthen the institutions that deliver these processes. So, the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, or UTM, University, and all the other bodies. CBT is a way to go, but it must be improved upon to ensure that it is efficiently delivered across all centers, and that issues of malpractice that you are mentioning, becomes a thing of the past. I started off by saying that malpractice has been an age-long practice, in Nigeria where it comes to this kind of examinations. And you would remember back in the years when we used to have what we call miracle centers. As long as you were enrolled in that center, it's special, and you are meant to just pass, cheat your way through to the top. And it is totally condemnable. And I think this is one of the things that CBT has actually helped to curb within our system. To a large extent, it has reduced, and what you can have now are people, like you said, who falsify, their A-level results. And that should be checked too. Institutions, educational institutions need to be strengthened, and more strict penalties need to be provided for those who are caught in the act, of those cheating prowesses that they engage in. The system needs to be strong enough, and people know that if they are caught, the punishment, that comes to it far outweighs whatever momentary gain they think they are getting from getting involved at that time. And then that way, the system will continue to get more and more sanitized with time.
All right, let's move on to the next talking point. For the want of time, we We're talking about anti-graft, where the EFCC is against the Binance executive bail application. The story tells us that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission on Tuesday urged Justice Emeka Nwite of the Federal High Court Abuja to deny the bail application of the detained Binance Holding Limited executive, Tigran Gabayan. The anti-graft agency said it was too risky to admit the foreigner to bail, noting that the escape of his co-defendant, Nadeem Anjarwalla, from the custody of the National Security Advisor and his escape to Kenya, besides the prosecuting counsel of the EFCC, Emeka Iheanacho, told the court that the anti-graft agency uncovered an alleged plot by Gabayan to obtain a new passport to facilitate his escape from Nigeria after the EFCC had seized his passport. A quick one. This is obviously too risky, like the EFCC have said, but should this be the case? And are you sad that the NSA hasn't come out to say XYZ has been punished for the escape of Anjarwalla?
First of all, I feel for the man that is in custody, because he will not. There's a bias against him already since his co-defendant escaped.
But there's an investigation that shows that he was even there's a plot to get a new passport in order to escape too. So should we?
Yeah, even if he didn't have that plot, the fact that two of you were arrested, one has escaped, we have not even been able to bring the one that has been escaped back to Nigeria from Kenya, and you want us to grant you bail, he should know that that's a request that cannot be granted. Maybe when the other person is back in custody, we can grant him bail.
But your expectation in terms of, do you think the dilly-dallying as regards bringing, Anjarwalla from Kenya is taking too long, since he's been arrested over a week now, moving him into Nigeria? Would this automatically mean they're going to be found guilty?
Nobody is found guilty. Even if you run, you can only be found guilty of running. When you come, you have to come and explain yourself, give your evidences. Of course, we can see from their body language that there's guilt here. If not, there's why you're running. So, and they're trying to run away from that. Of course, they must have talked with their lawyers. They are not daft. So these are the issues we are looking at. They should be able to, the government should ground them. This is my point. This is not something to play with. There's another new company that has started coming back again, doing almost the same thing Binance was doing. We have started noticing in a few days that the dollar has started going back up again. So this is not anything that undermines Nigeria, anything that undermines our economy, anything that can come back to negatively impact the large number of Nigerians we have, should be dealt with seriously. I believe he should be kept under custody. 1 week is too long to extradite somebody. Nigeria needs to pressure Kenya, and whatever is blocking it. 1 week is too long to extradite someone. What if he dies within that time frame?
All right, George, let's get your take as regards these executives that have been accused of concealing about $35,400,000 generated revenue by Binance in Nigeria, knowing that the funds constituted proceeds from unlawful activity. Do you support the EFCC denying Nadeem's bail application?
Well, 100% I do. I totally support that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission continues to detain Nadeem until he is able to be arraigned in court and a judgment is actually passed. I was going to say, on a more jocular level now, yes, that the Kenya government might have become more careful now, because they remember that our man, Nnamdi Kanu, was also apprehended in Kenya, and even though they did not witness any punishment to that effect, I think there was some level of backlash from the Nigerian people, who blamed them for allowing Nnamdi Kanu to be released that way. So now that we have another fugitive in where Nigeria is concerned, I think perhaps they are trying to be more careful. But that being said, the issue of whether he should be granted bail, I don't think it should even be something that we are discussing right now. first of all, there were so many expectations from this case as far as many Nigerians are concerned. One of it is that, the other speaker said, what was that people were expecting that the office of the NSA will come and speak to this issue and address it. And because I do not believe, really, that it's possible for someone to just escape from lawful custody and just find his way in another country. How did he go? How did all that process happen? So I expect, first of all, that that process is already being tried, and that from the office of the NSA and whoever was in charge of that case is actually answering to the law right now. But that is not done yet. So I do not even think that the conversation about whether I should be granted bail should be on the table. We are looking at, first of all, producing his co-defendant, and then we are looking at the kind of prosecution that is due them, especially for how terrible the impact of their actions to the Nigerian economy is. It's really despicable and has left us in a total mess at a moment that we are just trying to get over. So I do not think that bail is an option that the Nigerian government should be considering at the moment. Rather, what we should be considering is how to intensify, the punishment that we go to these people, and how we can continue the extradition process of the co-defendant to come and answer to the cause of the law in Nigeria. Because when you look at it at the end of the day, Nigerians don't get lucky outside this country when they are caught with all these sort of crimes. They flow to jail easily. We are already marked, and we should also, maybe not as a reprisal, but I mean, we should also know that Nigerians also come from a serious country, if you get what I mean, where if you disobey the law, you will also bear the brunt. It is not only Nigerians that should be bearing the brunt of disobedience of law or cutting short processes when they are outside Nigeria.
All right, well said. Would you be surprised if these two fellows get a very soft landing? Maybe on the flip side that they're trying to also, their partners or those who has aided them from the Nigerian side try to give a soft landing. Would that go well for Nigeria? And would it be a good lesson or deterrent for upcoming companies, like you said, that have already started doing what Binance have done in the past?
I'm trying to be careful so we don't say things that put other people in trouble. But you see, you can...
Because they didn't work alone in Nigeria.
Yes, when you're joining a business, let's say you're a staff in this organization, you may not know the law. You may not know whether your organization is paying tax. You may not know whether your operation is legally operating in Nigeria. And Nigeria is a country that before anything goes, so you may just be silent, working, collecting your salary, pushing your things, and hoping. There are many companies that are still not paying tax in Nigeria, but people are working there. So it looked harmless until it was the searchlight of the government was shone on it as one of the things crippling the country. So for me, how did they get to start operating in Nigeria? Let's start with that. Did they have a license or not? No license. How did you start operating? How did you get customers? On what? And then the social media and online space needs far more regulation, because how did they register those apps? How did those apps become installable in Nigeria? There's a part that Android needs to explain there. There's a part that iPhone needs to explain there. If this was against the law of Nigeria, how were people able to download the apps in Nigeria? This is a big matter that needs to be really, really thought about and followed and dealt with, so that all the other companies that are involved know what can happen to them if this happens next. Because if Android gets away with it, and Apple gets away with it, and another company comes, they'll just register them again afresh. So these are the things we'll have.
All right, very sad commentary there. Let's go to the next talking point. We're looking at Air Nigeria. Sirika goes on trial for 8 billion naira fraud. That's the big story there, that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission will next week arraign former Minister of Aviation Hadi Sirika in connection with the botched Nigerian Air project. An impeccable source in the anti-graft agency revealed this to our correspondent, saying the investigator who spoke on the condition of anonymity because he did not have the official permission to speak on the matter, said interrogators are probing Sirika over the controversial Nigerian Air project that failed, though the commission is yet to uncover the total amount that was expended on the project. The investigation is ongoing, and Sirika will be arraigned in court next week as charges are being prepared against him. The ex-minister was on Tuesday taken into custody. He arrived at the Federal Capital Territory Command on Tuesday. Let's look at Hadi Sirika. Lots of issues, especially when this Air Nigeria was to be launched in New York. A lot of Nigerians raised eyebrow as regards why launch a Nigerian air fleet in the U.S. rather than Nigeria, and the hastiness of wanting to launch that Air Nigeria, despite different opposition from those in the aviation sector and even some persons in the government, made it look really fishy. Are you impressed with the former administration of Muhammadu Buhari, who was the champion of anti-corruption in Africa, letting that slide?
I would try to refrain from the past administration because it was
it occurred under the
yes, it was a complete mess. This is what we're saying, that even everybody knew this was a mess. How do you tell us that the logo was done for 175 million naira? That logo can be done in area 10 for 5,000 naira, for heaven's sake. Or let's say highest, 1 million. That's if the company wants to go for a picnic after that. For heaven's sake, why do you spend 175 million on logo? This then we now start hearing that other countries and companies are part of the ownership. Why is it not on the table? Was it presented to the Senate? Is the Senate aware about this? Why is it called Air Nigeria if other countries are part of it? Why is it not done in Nigeria? Why is a plane brought, painted, and returned back? There's a lot that just is clearly fishy about this. So he needs to. I have no issue with it. Before I felt maybe Tinubu will be afraid to touch anybody from the north, but I can see that he has given his EFCC chairman a free hand. Do your work, do the job. Take the cases that are on your table, go back to old files and look at the old files and see what are the cases on ground. So this is very good for Nigeria, and I believe Nigerians are happy about it.
Okay, let's just quickly, George, let's quickly get your take. The fact that Sirika did give this contract to his younger brother, does this make it more, difficult for Hadi Sirika to escape the long arm of the law? The fact that the contract was given to his immediate younger brother to get this job done.
Was total hoax. If you look at it and you look at the trajectory at which the entire project was executed, Mr. Toba has spoken to the time, which is of course everything was just fast tracked and he didn't go through any legal processes that he ought to go through in Nigeria. There are statutory processes that he ought to have gone through. To have an air carrier that is a state-owned in Nigeria. But for all of that not to have gone, not to have happened, it simply means that it was a hoax and it was something that was probably created in order to milk the country of its scarce resources, like it was common in the administration for President Muhammadu Buhari. And for this case, personally, one of the things I am quite excited that is happening, and I like where the EFCC is driving toward. it's quite ironical to find out that a country that didn't even, that an administration that didn't even campaign much on spearheading the fight against corruption have, distinguished itself to, and we are clearly seeing, that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission is ready, to go after every single criminal in this country as much as time will permit. So it is a very welcome development, and I think we must first of all give kudos to the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is committed to fighting corruption. We must also give kudos to Mr. Olukoyede, the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, yes, who is fearless in his approach, because this case is very sensitive. You spoke about the fact that maybe the president might not want to touch the north or anyone from the north, but we have seen that he's fearless, and we must salute his courage. He's forthright. He's going about the process the way it ought to be. So you remember we spoke about this earlier, and we said, for no reason, Hadi Sirika should not be a freeman right now with that level of graft, that was discovered during this. Yes, that was discovered, in that administration. And to also think of the fact that it happened at the exit. So they thought it was something they would just do, rob the country, and then go and chill in the Bahamas after. But I think it's clearer now that is not going to be the situation. And for every other person who is in that position, who said in the Muhammadu Buhari administration, I think they better begin to sit up right now, because the hammer of the law will hit hard on their head with the trajectory that we see the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission going at the moment.
All right, just the last question. Are you worried that the ICPC and other anti-graft agency are docile? We seem to only see the EFCC getting the job done. What's happening to the ICPC and other anti-graft agencies?
Well, that speaks to some of the demands, that has been coming to the public space recently, and some of the things that Nigerians have said. Really, that first of all, why do we need to have an independent corrupt practices commission, and then we have an economic and financial crimes commission? I'm one of the people who believe that the two agencies should be merged in order for us to be able to maximize our resources. Maybe one should be a department under the other. Financial crimes is a crime. Corrupt crime, ICPC, EFCC, and there is another one.
Is it the National Intelligence Financial
Unit? No, intelligence is important. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the guy that slapped someone in Banex, in the last administration. I forgot the name now. So 3 agencies. Okay. Those agencies should actually be made together. Their work are similar in nature. It's just like repeating what one person is doing. So if the agency is under an umbrella, managed by somebody who is as serious, for now, that we can see, as Olukoyede, then we can maybe begin to have hopes that Nigeria is serious about fighting corruption, especially beginning within from its own system.
All right, thank you very much. Let's get into the next talking point. We've got Yahaya Bello. The EFCC chairman told us he made a call to Yahaya Bello to say, come and clear yourself. And Bello said, you've got 100 journalists stationed in your office by one senator, so he's not going to come. And he says, okay, I'm going to let you come through the back door, which I always use, so you don't get that publicity. And he refuses. But we're also being told that $720,000 was spent on his child's tuition fee by the XY governor of Kogi State, and it was prepaid before he left office. Already the court this evening has said Bello should be served, the document, for him to appear before the court. Do you think Yahaya Bello is playing the antics he's going through? Do you think the EFCC has been soft on him?
Yeah, the EFCC, you see, first of all, I think a court order that is even barring the EFCC from anything on him at the moment. So
And the last time it was stalled because he didn't appear before the court.
Yes, and I heard that today the EFCC is pulling, because of they say they are out of time, they are pulling out that request, but I think they'll make it back in the course of the week. You see, there's a legal procedure to this thing. You don't want to do something and then somebody with this magnitude will escape because he found one legal loophole and then escape. And so you have to make sure it's proper. They considered using the military, but there's no part in the Constitution that allows the EFCC use the military to arrest somebody. You don't want to have those issues because if you use the military and he sues you for 200 billion, then you have a fresh case. Look at the case in Delta. The military and the government is now being sued for 200 million for using military to go to that community in Delta. So if you don't have a constitutional position, then get one. You have senators everywhere. Push a bill, fast track the bill so that you can, because in Kogi where it is, I can assure you, Yahaya Bello will not have less than because the governor is on his side, first of all. The House of Assembly is on his side. And some of the senators and local government chairmen are on his side from his place. And he has enough thugs on his side in his village. That is why he had the F1 tree to tell the EFCC chairman to come and interview him in his village. So you don't want to go that way. You go with military and there's a fracas and 100 people die. You now begin to have a communal issue that comes afresh. But the EFCC chairman has said he will follow this to any length, even if he doesn't follow this to the end, he will resign. Means he's serious, and we like the fact that he's serious. But they should make sure they tie up every legal loose end. If they need to push bills, they should push bills. Tie this up properly, bring him for questioning. If it is true that he used money directly from accounts sent directly to grow the change, to pay for school fees of the years his child has not even attended. Let's say your child is in 100 level, you have paid up to 400 level because you are in office now and the funds is available. So you don't want to be paying for the next years. You want to just pay now. This is brazen corruption if proven true. And they say they have the evidences. So, which is why we see him running. So I think this is something that needs to be followed well. Last week, he went to snap with the president, which was a way in Nigeria to wash away your sins. And when he did that, 3 days later, EFCC was more on his neck than ever. So that shows some goodwill from the president, saying, a photo up with me doesn't save you from EFCC. A photo up with me doesn't wash away your sins. If you have your sins, go and face your sins. So the president is doing his own part.
Oshoma, let's take as regards when you move to the APC, your sins have been forgiven.
Yes, this is changing. And this is what we want to see. We want to see institutions strong. I don't want to see a strong president. Right. I want to see institutions strong.
All right, George, let's quickly have your take on this. Would you say the judiciary is also complicit in this issue for the High Court in Kogi State to grant him that prayers of not allowing the EFCC to arrest him when obviously it's alleged that he has committed infractions of 80.2 billion naira fraud against the Nigerian state?
Well, thank you for this perspective. The thing is, it's quite simple as far as I'm concerned, but it just reveals how powerful an executive governor is in Nigeria, or it comes to even confirm, speculations about that. So you get to hear that the governor is not just a governor; he's an executive, and many times he's an emperor. That's what we have in the Nigerian state. And this is made clear because we realize that the same people will have control over the judiciary, they will have control over the legislature. They have absolute control over every organ of government in the state. Over security. And that is what we are seeing, first of all, with that judgment. If somebody is accused of a crime, why would you pass a judgment that says that he cannot be arrested, he cannot be tried, and all whatnot? I think that whoever gave that judgment, I'm not a judge, and but I think we should just be conscious of time, and that's one. Then I also think that the people of the state, I'm sorry, but they are not serious people. Because how do you have a case where somebody, who took your collective money up to the tune of 80 billion naira, and then you are trying to protect him? I don't understand. I think he should be allowed to go and face the music, of the mess that he has created. But Nigerians are sycophants. Some Nigerians, I beg your pardon, are sycophants. Some Nigerians are also they're also petty. They're too hungry to the point that whenever a crumb is thrown at them, they jump at it, they embrace it, and then they bury their conscience, they bury their voices in all of this. It is totally wrong. I think by now the ex-governor should not even have a hiding place. He shouldn't have a hiding place. Everybody should be asking him to go out. Just yesterday, I was reading how a civil society organization was talking about this entire process and why he should not even be arrested and why this is a witch hunt on him. And I'm like, yo, what kind of civil society organization is this one? Well, the question here is whether he's right or wrong. It's for the court to decide. It's for after the EFCC have presented their case and then a competent court of jurisdiction, makes a pronouncement. But our concern basically is that Yahya Bello should make himself available so that he can either exonerate himself and tell the world that I am not guilty of these things. And that's the cry. And that is why every Nigerian at the moment is solidly behind the EFCC chairman to ensure that this matter is seen to the highest level it can get, and that justice prevails in this matter.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. Olugbenga George, thank you for joining us on the Zoom link. Thank you for your very sound analysis of all the talking points on today's edition of the program, The Desk. And I want to say a big thank you to Toba Owojayi. Always a pleasure having you live in the studios, and thank you for your fantastic analysis and breakdown of all the talking points.
Last thing I want to say is he saw Fayose go to EFCC. Fayose printed a shirt and wrote, EFCC, I am here. Why are you running away from EFCC, for heaven's sake? Go there and answer. They will give you bail, and then you start working the process from them. Stop this childishness.
All right, so that's how we call it a wrap on today's edition. I want to say thank you for everyone who made this program come alive and excellent, especially the two gentlemen, Toba Owojayi. Thank you for joining me once again, and also don't forget to Olugbenga George for your very sound analysis. My name is Anthony Momodu, saying thank you for joining me on the program. Let's do this again tomorrow. Good evening.
All right, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. Nice.